I want to preface this video with stating that the spending habits I will discuss are based on my own situation, and that no one should feel pressured to do the same as me, as everyone's situation is uniquely different. Will I be participating in a stationary low-buy for 2023? At the beginning of every year, it seems like this is the big question that everybody is asking themselves in the planning community. And for this year, my answer is yes and no. While I do want to exercise responsible spending with this hobby of mine, I am not attaching a specific dollar amount to limit myself. In the notes pages of my Hobonichi weeks, I have decided to document this decision to partake in a variation of a low buy for 2023 and the intentions that I will be doing and a few restrictions I have put in place. To help understand why I have made this decision, it will help to look back at the previous years. Prior to 2022, I only had around $200 to spend on this hobby every year, and this meant that a majority of the money was going towards the supplies I was using each year and would end up using up, so my collection stayed relatively small. In 2022, though, I was able to make some money during a summer internship, which I used a portion to build a stationery collection and try new stationery products. Since planning and journaling is such a huge hobby and passion of mine, it was fun to get to purchase products that had been on my wish list for years. So while I do expect to spend less money than I have during 2022, I do not want to set a specific dollar amount, especially since I do have a full-time job now and I am making money, and I would like to spend some of it on this hobby. However, now that I have those essentials to my collections, I do recognize that my spending habits will change as my needs have changed. For example, I have 3 bottles of inks in my collections, 2 black and 1 gray blue. Considering that ink bottles last a while and I tend to only use black ink, it does not make sense to spend more money on more ink bottles. Or I have a notebook system that works very well for me, so I won't be buying any more dated notebooks or notebooks in general to prevent any temptation to switch to a system in the middle of the year. On the other hand, I use icon stickers from Randy.plans in multiple notebooks, so this is something I will continue to repurchase as needed. Or I will buy refills for the pens I use in my notebook system if I use them up. The reason behind not setting a specific dollar amount is because I'm hoping to continue to create a stationery collection that I love, that holds value to me, and that I use. So if I decide to spend a little bit more on a higher quality item that I will prefer and use more, then it's worth it to me. Some of the restrictions that I have put in place are, like I mentioned before, do not buy any dated notebooks or notebooks. Last year in 2022, there were a few times that temptation of a new notebook led me to abandon another. While that decision wasn't inherently a bad one, I would like to stick to the system that I have spent so much time prepping for and setting up, and now that it's the end of February, I have spent quite enough time in them that I do not want to switch systems. Considering that I do know now what I like in both fountain pens and inks, I do not need any more. The exception for fountain pens would be either gifts or limited editions, where if I don't get it now, I may not be able to get it in the future. And with inks, I only use black. There's no real reason to purchase any more unless it was a specific color that would have to come in a smaller quantity, since I don't use color as often. And lastly, I will wait 72 hours before purchasing. To prevent purchasing items in the heat of the moment, I want to wait at least 72 hours to help ensure I really do want the item and it's not just impulse buying. As a way to be more conscious about my spending, I am adding a spending tracker to the notes pages of my Hobonichi weeks. I decided to separate it by quarter since that's how I've divided it in the notes pages. Plus, this will allow me to review those habits at least once every quarter. Since I will be including other expenses in the tracker, I think I will end up using a Tombow dual brush pen to highlight the expenses that are stationery related, since that's what I'm mainly interested about. Once again, this spending plan is based on what worked for me in my current situation. You do not need to go on a low buy year, nor do you need to purchase anything that I do throughout the year. You are in charge of your own spending habits and should do what works best for you. I do think I will be making updates on the purchases I have made throughout the year, either on my YouTube channel or my Instagram, which will be linked down below. So make sure to let me know in the comments if you are interested as well.